What's up, everybody? Blessed be. My name is Manon, and you are watching Witch in the Working, where we will be discussing all things witchy in and around, throughout and about, above, below, and beyond. This video offers my personal views on the topic at hand. Please visit me on my other platforms as well, including Facebook, Patreon, and Instagram, all linked down in the description below. The full script of this video and most of the others is available on my Patreon account for download if desired to build your own Witch in the Working Book of Shadows. Do you need help with a spell or fancy a tarot reading? Shoot on over to my store, Bewitching and Bizarre, linked down in the description below for your personalized working and or reading. So let's talk about Hekate, one of the coolest goddesses you might ever hear about. She's not as famous as Zeus or Athena, but Hekate is one of the most mysterious and powerful figures in Greek mythology. Her story starts way back in ancient times, long before most of the famous Greek gods even came into the picture. What makes Hekate so fascinating is her connection to magic, the underworld, and everything spooky and mystical. In this video, we're going to talk all about Hekate and why she is so popular today. Now, I know there's different ways of saying her name, and there's different ways of spelling her name. Some people do it with a K, some people do it with a C. In my research, spelling it with a K is the way it's done historically. Spelling it with a C, Hekate with a C, is the new way of spelling Hekate. Just like the pronunciation, I'm going to call her Hekate because that's how I came up growing up, but some people say Hekate. Anyhow, just a little thing up front before people start slamming me in the comments, about I'm pronouncing the name wrong and everything else. I'm just going to, Hekate is what I say, as well with millions of others. If you say Hekate, that's awesome. Again, Athame, Atham, Athami, Adame, tomato, tomato. So anyhow, sit back, relax, and get your thinking caps and roll intro. Welcome back, everybody. So Hecate's origins can be traced back to ancient Greece, but some say she may have been worshipped in other cultures like Thrace or Asia Minor before she became part of Greek mythology. She's often linked to the Titans, the gods who ruled the world before the Olympians, like Zeus, took over. According to some myths, Hekate was the daughter of the Titan Perses and Hysteria, which makes her a Titaness herself. Unlike many other Titans who lost their power after the great battle between the Titans and Olympians, called the Titanomachy, Hekate kept her power. Why? Well, Zeus, the king of the gods, respected her so much that he let her keep her role as a goddess. That's a big deal, because after the war, most Titans were either imprisoned or stripped of their authority. Hecate's survival and status show just how special and powerful she was. Hecate's mythology isn't as straightforward as some of the more well-known gods like Poseidon or Aphrodite. Instead, she has a wide range of roles, which is part of what makes her so intriguing. She's known as a goddess of magic, witchcraft, and ghosts, but she's also linked to the moon, the night, and the underworld. In some stories, she's a guide who helps souls travel safely to the afterlife, which is why she's often associated with the underworld and death. One of her most important roles is as a goddess of the crossroads. In ancient times, crossroads were considered mysterious and even a little dangerous, places where different paths meet and where you have to make decisions about which way to go. People believe that Hekate watched over these crossroads, especially at night, and that she had the power to protect travelers. This is why she's often seen as a protector, but also someone who controls the boundary between the living and the dead. And we'll talk more about crossroads a little bit later. One of the most famous stories Hekate is part of is the myth of Persephone. You might know the story. Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, is kidnapped by Hades and taken to the underworld to be his queen. When Persephone goes missing, Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, is devastated. She searches everywhere for her daughter but can't find her. This is where Hekate comes in. She hears Persephone's cries while the kidnapping happens, and she helps guide Demeter to the underworld to rescue her daughter. In some versions of the myth, Hekate even becomes Persephone's guide in the underworld, helping her move between the world of the living and the world of the dead. This is another reason why Hekate is seen as a goddess of transitions and doorways. She helps souls move between different realms, whether that's from life to death or just from one stage of life to another. Hekate has a lot of cool symbols and things associated with her. One of the most important is the torch. Since she's often depicted as walking through the night or the underworld carrying a torch makes sense. She lights the way for souls and travelers, helping them find their way through the dark. This torch is a symbol of her role as a guide and protector. She's also associated with dogs, especially black dogs, which were seen as her companions. Some people even believe that the howling of dogs at night was a sign that Hekate was nearby. Other animals linked to her include snakes and owls, both of which are symbols of wisdom and mystery. Hekate is also connected to plants and herbs used in magic, like yew, garlic, and lavender. These plants were thought to have special powers, and many witches and magicians who honored Hekate would use them in rituals. This connection to herbs and spells is another reason why Hekate is so strongly associated with witchcraft and magic. Hecate's origins in mythology paint a picture of a goddess who is both powerful and mysterious. Whether she's lighting the way for lost souls or helping travelers at crossroads, Hekate is a guide through the unknown, and that's what makes her so special. Hekate is a goddess with many different roles and titles, each one adding a new layer to her complex personality. While some deities are known for one main thing, like Apollo being the god of the sun or Poseidon ruling the seas, Hecate's influence stretches across several areas of life. This variety is what makes her so unique and fascinating. She wears many hats depending on what she's doing and what people need from her. One of Hecate's most famous roles is as a goddess of witchcraft and magic. She's often called upon by those practicing witchcraft or magic because of her deep knowledge of spells, herbs, and the hidden mysteries of the world. She's believed to have power over the unseen forces that govern magic. Because of this, witches from ancient times to today have looked to Hekate for guidance in their craft. They see her as someone who understands the power of earth, the moon, and the energies that flow through everything. In this role, Hekate is like a teacher of magical wisdom. She helps people connect with their inner power in the natural world. Her connection to magic isn't just about casting spells, though. It's also about understanding how the world works in ways that go beyond the obvious. It's about seeing the connections between things, understanding cause and effect, and knowing how to work with energy in a positive way. Another major role that Hekate plays is as a triple goddess. Now, this doesn't mean there are three Hecates running around. Instead, it refers to the idea that she represents three different phases of life: youth, adulthood, and old age. Some people see her as symbolizing the maiden, youth, the mother, adulthood, and the crone, old age, all in one figure. These three aspects are often linked to the phases of the moon: waxing, growing, full, bright, and waning, shrinking. As the triple goddess, Hekate represents the full cycle of life. She's there for you when you're just starting out, like the maiden, when you're in the middle of your journey, like the mother, and when you're reflecting back on life, like the crone. This is why Hekate is often associated with wisdom, because she understands all stages of life. She knows what it means to grow, change, and transform, which is a huge part of the human experience. Throughout history, Hekate has been given many different titles called epithets, which reflect the different ways she's worshipped and understood. Each title gives us a clue about a particular side of her personality or power. One of her epithets, Propylaea, which means she who guards the gate, in this role, Hekate is like a protector standing at the entrance to important places, both physical and spiritual. This could be a literal gate, like the entrance to a city, or a metaphorical gate, like the boundary between life and death. Hekate is someone who controls access to these places, deciding who can come and go. It's a powerful role that shows she's not just a passive observer, she's actively involved in keeping things safe and balanced. Another title is Sotera. I really hope I'm pronouncing these correctly, I'm not sure. Meaning savior. This one highlights her role as a protector of the weak and a guide to those who are lost. Whether you're in physical danger or just feeling emotionally or spiritually lost, Hekate is seen as someone who can help guide you back to safety. In ancient times, people believed she could help them avoid harm or find their way when they were stuck, making her a comforting figure in moments of uncertainty. Then there's Trivia, which translates to of the three ways. This refers to Hecate's association with crossroads, where three roads meet. Crossroads were important in ancient times because these symbolized choices and the unknown. People would often leave offerings to Hekate at crossroads, asking her to guide them in making the right decision. It's a reminder that Hekate isn't just a goddess of magic, but also of choice and destiny. She helps people make decisions and navigate the twists and turns of life. Hekate is often described as a liminal goddess. This means that she exists in the spaces between things, in the gaps, so to speak. Whether it's the boundary between life and death, night and day, or the known and the unknown, Hekate is there. She isn't confined to just one place or one role, which is why she is so hard to define in a single sentence. In a way, Hekate's ability to move between different realms makes her a goddess of transitions. Whether you're going through a big change in life, dealing with a difficult decision, or just feeling stuck, Hekate is someone you can turn to for help. She understands what it means to be in between, and she offers guidance for how to move forward when the path ahead seems unclear. Hekate's many roles and titles show just how multidimensional she is. She's not just a goddess of magic or witchcraft, but a protector, guide, and symbol of life's transitions. Her titles like Propylaea, Soteira, and Trivia offer different glimpses into her wide-reaching powers, whether it's guarding gates, saving the lost, or guiding choices. Hekate is a goddess who teaches us that life is full of crossroads, and no matter what path we take, she'll be there to help us find our way. One of the most interesting things about Hekate is her connection to the underworld. Now, before we dive into that, let's make sure we understand what the underworld means in Greek mythology. The underworld isn't some evil, fiery place like how some might think of it today. Instead, it's more like the realm where the souls of the dead go after they leave the world of the living. It's ruled by Hades, but Hekate has her own special role in this mysterious world. She's not the ruler of the underworld, but she's like a guide and protector who can move between different worlds, including the world of the living, the underworld, and everything in between. One of Hekate's main jobs in the underworld is to guide souls. Think of her like a cosmic travel agent for the dead, helping them find their way through this dark, mysterious realm. In ancient times, people believed that after someone died, their soul had to take a journey to the underworld. But that journey could be scary and confusing. There were rivers to cross, dark paths to follow, and all sorts of strange creatures lurking around. This is where Hekate comes in. She acts as a guide, helping souls travel safely to where they need to go. You can imagine her holding a lantern or a torch, something she's often depicted with, to light the way, like a comforting presence in a very dark place. It's not just about leading souls, though. Hekate's role as a guide means she's deeply connected to change and transitions. Just like how the seasons change or how we grow up and go through different phases of life, Hekate helps guide people through these big transformations, even the ultimate transformation, which is death. Hekate is famously connected to crossroads, as we spoke of, but when we think about her relationship with the underworld, this connection becomes even more powerful. Crossroads aren't just places where roads meet. In ancient times, they symbolized places of choice and change. People would often leave offerings to Hekate at crossroads, especially at night, hoping that she would help them make the right decision or guide them throughout a difficult time. In a way, the underworld itself is like a giant crossroads. It's a place where souls go after they've left the world of the living, and they must decide where they're going next. Is this their final destination, or is there another path for them? Hekate stands at this crossroads, not to make the choice for them, but to help them on their way. Whether it's a literal journey to the underworld or a metaphorical journey through life, Hekate's presence at these intersections reminds us that change is always happening and we can find guidance along the way. It's easy to think of the underworld as a scary place. After all, it's dark, mysterious, and filled with unknowns. But Hekate's role there is actually quite comforting. She's not just a guide, she's also a protector. In ancient times, people believed that Hekate could keep them safe, even in the most dangerous or frightening places. Whether it was the literal danger of the underworld or the emotional fear of facing death, Hekate was seen as someone who could shield and defend those who were vulnerable. This protective side of Hekate shows up in different myths, where she helps both gods and mortals through tough situations. It's also the reason that people would leave offerings to her at their homes, hoping that she would keep away evil spirits or bad luck. Even in the darkest parts of the underworld, Hekate was seen as a source of safety and light. So Hekate's connection to the underworld isn't about ruling over the dead or controlling who lives and dies. Instead, she plays the role of a guide, helping souls find their way through a world that can be confusing and full of unknowns. She helps both the living and the dead navigate the tricky parts of life's journey, whether it's transition between the different stages of life or the ultimate transition of passing from life into the underworld. With her torches lighting the way, Hekate stands as a reminder that even in the darkest places, there's someone who can help guide us through. When we think about gods and goddesses, it's easy to picture grand temples and huge statues, but Hecate's worship has always been a little different. While some gods had fancy places built just for them, Hekate was often worshipped in simpler, more personal ways. People didn't just go to temples to honor her. They brought her into their daily lives, and that's part of what makes her worship so special. One of the most important ways people have shown devotion to Hekate is by giving her offerings. Offerings are small gifts, and people have been giving these to gods and goddesses for thousands of years as a way to say thank you, ask for help, or show respect. But what do you give to a goddess like Hekate? In ancient times, people would leave food for her at crossroads, doorways, or other important places. One common offering was called Hekate's Deipnon, which means Hekate's supper. This was a meal left out for her at the end of the month, often at a crossroads or outside of someone's house. People would leave things like eggs, garlic, cakes, and fish. They believed that by offering these things, Hekate would protect their home, keep evil spirits away, and guide them in their lives. Offerings weren't just about food, though. People would also give Hekate things that symbolized her power, like keys or torches. These objects represented Hecate's ability to open doors and lead the way through dark places. By giving her a key, for example, worshippers were asking her to unlock new opportunities or help them make important decisions. While some gods had huge temples built for them, Hecate's worshippers often created small personal altars in their homes. These altars could be as simple as a shelf with a few special items on it, or they could be more elaborate with statues and candles. The important thing was that the altar was a place where people could focus their thoughts and prayers to Hekate. On an altar to Hekate, you might find things that represent her different roles. There might be a small statue or image of her, but there could also be candles to symbolize her role as a light bringer, or a small bowl of herbs like lavender or garlic, which were thought to be sacred to her. Having an altar in the home made it easier for people to connect with Hekate whenever they wanted, without needing to go to a temple. This personal approach to worship shows that Hecate's followers didn't just see her as a distant figure, but as a goddess who could be part of their everyday lives. Hekate also has special days dedicated to her worship. In ancient Greece, one of these days was August 13th, when people would pray to her to protect them from storms or other natural disasters. Another day is November 16th, which some modern followers celebrate as Hecate's Night, a time for honoring her and asking her for protection. These days aren't just about asking Hekate for favors, though. They're also a time for giving thanks to her for all the help and guidance she's given throughout the year. Whether it's through lighting candles, saying prayers, or leaving offerings, these special days are a reminder of Hecate's presence in the lives of her followers. Worshipping Hekate has always been about more than just grand temples or fancy rituals. Her followers have honored her through simple personal acts of devotion, whether it's leaving an offering, creating an altar, or celebrating her special days. Hekate is a goddess who is deeply connected to everyday life, and her worship reflects that. Hekate is often thought of as the goddess of witchcraft, which means she has a strong connection to spells, rituals, and all things magical. But what does that actually mean? Witchcraft in the context of Hekate isn't about waving a wand like you see in movies. It's more about understanding how to work with nature, energy, and intention to bring about change. Hekate is often called upon by witches because she represents the mysterious and powerful forces that can shape the world around us. One of the reasons Hekate is so closely linked to witchcraft is because she's a goddess of the unknown. She rules over the night, the moon, and the liminal spaces, as we discussed earlier, the places where normal rules don't quite apply. These are the same kinds of spaces that witches often work in, where they can tap into hidden forces and bring about change. Because of this, many witches see Hekate as a powerful guide and protector in their craft. Hekate is considered a patron of witches, which means she's someone they look to for guidance, wisdom, and support in their magical work. She doesn't do the magic for them, but she helps them understand how to do it themselves, which goes back to that old adage, that you can give a man a fish and feed him now, or you can teach a man a fish and feed him forever. Whether it's casting a spell, working with herbs, or reading the energy of a situation, Hekate's influence is there to guide the way. In witchcraft, spells are a way of focusing your energy and intention to create change in the world. For example, if you want to bring more peace into your life, you might perform a spell that uses symbols and actions to represent peace and calm. These actions help focus your mind and spirit on your goal, making it more likely to happen. Hekate is often called upon in these kinds of spells because she's seen as a goddess who can help bring about transformation. This means that no matter what kind of change you're looking to make, Hekate can help guide you through the process. Whether you're casting a spell for protection, clarity, or healing, Hecate's influence is often welcomed because of her deep connection to both magic and the natural world. Many witches will include invocations to Hekate in their spell. An invocation is like a prayer or a chant that calls on a particular deity for help. For Hekate, these invocations often focus on her power to light the way through darkness or to help make decisions at crossroads, both literal and figurative. Hecate's connection to witchcraft goes far beyond her title as a goddess of magic. She's a guide, protector, and teacher for those who practice the craft, offering wisdom and support as they navigate the world of spells and rituals. From her role as a patron of witches to her connection to powerful magical symbols like keys and torches, Hekate is a strong and lasting influence in magical traditions. Whether someone is new to witchcraft or has been practicing for years, Hecate's presence is a reminder that there's always more to learn and explore in the world of magic. Hekate, though an ancient goddess, has made a big impact on modern paganism, and she's still worshipped and honored by people all over the world today. What makes Hekate so appealing to modern witches and pagans is how she can fit into different paths and traditions, all while maintaining her unique sense of mystery and power. Her role has evolved over time, but her importance in spiritual practices has stayed strong, and her presence in modern witchcraft, Wicca, and paganism continues to grow. One of the reasons Hekate is so respected in these communities is because of her ability to help people navigate through challenges. For many, she represents the inner strength that helps them deal with big changes or difficult situations. Whether it's moving to a new stage in life, dealing with a tough decision, or facing uncertainty, Hekate is called upon for her guidance and protection. In modern paganism, Hekate also symbolizes the idea of personal power and self-discovery. Many pagans look to her as a source of inner wisdom, someone who can help them learn more about themselves and their place in the world. She is often seen as a teacher who encourages people to trust their instincts, explore their intuition, and take control of their spiritual power. Hekate has become a central figure in many modern pagan festivals and rituals. Some of these are based on ancient traditions, while others are new celebrations created by modern witches and pagans to honor her. These festivals are times for people to come together, honor Hecate's role in their lives, and seek her blessings. One of the key times pagans honor Hekate is during Samhain, which is celebrated at the end of October. Samhain is a time when many pagans believe that the veil between the living and the dead is thinnest, making it a perfect time to connect with deities like Hekate who have ties to the spirit world. During Samhain, people often perform rituals to honor Hecate's role as a guardian of the dead and ask her for protection in their lives as they move into the darker months of the year. Other times, pagans might celebrate Hekate on the new moon, a time that symbolizes new beginnings and fresh starts. Because Hekate is closely associated with the moon, many witches and pagans believe that the new moon is a powerful time to connect with her energy. They might perform rituals or meditations dedicated to her, asking for guidance as they start new projects or embark on new journeys. While there are big festivals and group rituals that honor Hekate, much of her worship today happens in more personal, individual ways. People who feel a strong connection to her often create their own routines and rituals to show their devotion. Some modern pagans feel a deep personal bond with Hekate, treating her almost like a spiritual mentor or guide. They believe that by building up a relationship with her, they can receive insight and strength to help them in their everyday lives. Hecate's ability to guide people through tough times is something that many people find comforting, and they often seek her out when they need clarity or direction. Hecate's role as a protector is also important in modern worship. Many people who honor Hekate today ask for protection in different ways. This could be protection for themselves, their homes, or even their loved ones. Some people hang keys or small symbols of Hekate near their doors to invite her protective energy into their homes. In recent years, Hekate has experienced a resurgence in popularity, especially in online communities of witches and pagans. Social media platforms have allowed people to share their experiences with Hekate and teach others about her. Many modern practitioners write books, create YouTube videos, or run blogs dedicated to Hecate's worship, helping her influence spread even further. The growing interest in Hekate reflects the modern need for a goddess who can help people navigate the complexities of life. Hekate is a goddess who has been important and powerful from ancient times all the way to today. People who look for her help see her as a guide, a protector, or a wise figure who knows a lot about magic. She can do a lot of different things, like helping souls find their way in the underworld or guiding people through big changes in life. Her ability to move between different worlds, both real and mystical, makes her super helpful when you're facing something unknown or uncertain. For witches and pagans today, Hekate isn't just an old goddess from the past. She's still very present present in their spiritual practices. People honor her through festivals, rituals, and even their personal altars at home. As the world continues to change, Hekate stays strong, offering a unique mix of magic, wisdom, and protection. Whether in ancient stories or modern beliefs, she reminds us that life is full of mysteries and there's always forces around us to help guide the way. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode of Witch in the Working. Do you work with Hekate? Have you ever worked with Hekate in ritual or spell work? Let us all know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and please subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to ring that little bell to be reminded of the wonderful and exciting future episodes to come. I love you guys and gals. Blessed be.